Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Ask Laird's Training. This question today, it's going to be a paraphrased question. I had a conversation with a dad this past week or 2 weeks ago, somewhere right around there. And I've had issues like this in the past with certain athletes and certain kids that I work with. I want to kind of go straight into the question, but understand this is a paraphrased question, a part of the conversation. So, Coach, I've been working hard the last few weeks, but my muscle memory, my mechanics, and my timing isn't there yet. Are the last few weeks of working on these drills a waste of time, or am I not doing them enough? Something is wrong, I'm not doing something right. And this question, again, I'm paraphrasing, it's asked in some form or another, and it's usually asked by a handful of kids every off season. And obviously parents a lot of times too, and a lot of parents that haven't been involved with the game and seen a lot of high-level training, a lot of high-level athletes that, they kind of get lost in. I'll use the term like college football just started today. Everybody wants to be Alabama, but people don't understand the work that Alabama puts in to be Alabama. It's a process. It's long-term. And success is not this steady increase. Success is up, down, move, outside, up, down, up. It's all over the place. That's what success is. And that's especially when it comes to hitting. And this is specifically what I'm going to be talking about today is the hitting. And I've got four important points to go over today when it comes to hitting and hitting drills and hitting mechanics and fixing certain things. So I get kids that come in, and for instance, again, this is just an example of a conversation I had with a parent this past week, but this conversation probably happens with a parent or a player 4 or 5 times in the off season, sometimes less, sometimes more. But you got to understand something. When it comes to working on your own, and I say this all the time in everything that I talk about, it is not what you do, but how you do it. There's a reason there are better strength coaches than there are other strength coaches. There's a reason there are better football coaches than other coaches, and baseball, etc. Continue to go down the line. If you enforce yourself, or coaches enforce you to do things properly, you will get bigger, more dramatic effect. So, say for instance, when I work with kids, we'll focus on about 2 drills a week. Give or take 1 or 2 here and there. We'll have 2 main focus of the drills, and then we'll focus on, whatever the other part is today, whether it's bat speed work, power work, which we're always working on bat speed and player development in our lessons. We might work on a little bit of short round BP, and depending on what the time of the year, it might be a little bit of screen toss, whatever the focus is for that specific group or those players that are in those lessons. So, first thing I'm going to point out is point 1, quality reps on your drills. So these 2 drills that I do week per week for my clients, I'll give them as homework. And I will, periodize kind of like the organization, how I do things, and say, hey, we need to do these drills this week because this is more important. I'll look at weak points on certain hitters, and I'll address these weak points with drills that I have worked with the last 10 years of doing lessons and trying to organize what drills I think help best to help the kids get into what I call, a power launch position. The best type of swing path, that slight upswing swing path that I teach. There's certain things that we've got to do. And kids will be like, I've been working really hard the last 2 weeks, like for instance on this question, and nothing's happening. Was this waste? And it's hard for me not to get really annoyed. I gotta understand where they're coming from. They're just asking questions. They don't understand the process. They're not used to this kind of work and this kind of effort and attitude toward things. And you gotta understand something. You might think that you're doing the drills that I give you, or a coach gives you, or your instructor gives you, but are you doing them right? How do you know you're doing them right? You need to video yourself, which you're going to look on point 3 I'm going to get to here in a minute. You need to see if you're actually doing it right. Have a second person there to see what you're doing. Do you actually understand the drill, or are you just kind of going through the motions? Because a lot of kids I work with, okay, coach, get over. I want to know this drill. Come on, okay, I'll go over here and I'll do it. Very rarely when I'm working with drills, and I create new drills all the time, does a kid get the first rep of a new drill down pat. So you got to understand, are you doing quality reps, or are you just trying to get in 30 swings on per drill? You got to understand that. Number 2, less is more. When you're hitting, do not sit there and do 1,000 drills every time you go hit. Focus on 2 or 3. And I talk about this analogy with strength training all the time. A lot of people, a lot of strength coaches, they try to think outside the box and try to recreate the wheel. And for me, when it comes to the weight room, you focus on the quality reps, which I just talked about in point 1. And point 2, the less is more. I don't want to do 1,000 exercises. I don't want to major in the minors. All right? I want to focus on quality reps, quality exercises, 2 or 3 exercises I want to be perfect at. That's not saying that we only do 2 to 3 exercises as a workout, but there might be 2 or 3 main exercises of the day before we get into our assistance work or our auxiliary work, in the weight room, and the same thing when it comes to hitting. It is my belief that you focus on 2 or 3 drills at a time. Focus on what this drill specifically is trying to do, how are you trying to implement it, and are you doing them correctly? If you master two or three drills at a time per session, sometimes we might do 1 drill at a time if we really, really need it. Like if somebody needs to work on their bottom half, we're going to do this 1 drill until somebody gets it down pat. And that helps out a lot more often than not. And focus on the less is more approach, because if you're doing 5, 6 drills at a time, you're trying to rush through these just to get these drills done. Instead of focusing on, hey, let's get these 2 drills in because these 2 drills are money. And I'm going to master these. I'm going to get a whole bucket on this first drill, a whole bucket on the second drill. Now, point 3, what I was getting at before on quality reps, how to make sure you do quality reps. You need to be in front of a mirror, and you need to see actually how you're doing. If you're in a garage doing your work, parents, you need to set up a mirror in the garage. If you're at a facility, hopefully they get a mirror. I personally don't have one right now because I usually use the video. I want to get one in the future, but you need to focus on getting your phone out. Everybody has a smartphone nowadays. Get your phone out and video yourself doing these drills. See if you're doing these drills correctly. And guys can come in with me and they can check me and say, hey, coach, here's my video. Am I doing this right? And I can give them feedback in their next lesson. Understand that unless you're seeing what you're doing, unless you have that mind-muscle connection, you're not going to understand if you're doing it correctly. You can't just go by feel until you know what feels right. A lot of kids, young age, all the way through college, they don't know what feels right. And here's the thing. Even the pro guys, they might necessarily know if they might change something. They can be completely unaware of it because you're completely affected by how you feel day to day. You can feel physically exhausted. You might make an adjustment and not even realize it. And number 4, I cannot stress this enough, and people screw this up. BP does not create muscle memory. Understand this. I see kids all the time, especially when I'll go out and in the past I used to do lessons out by my alma mater, and I would see kids just throw BP to each other every day, and that would be their hitting. If all you do to show up and do work and grind is to go out there and throw BP to your partner, you're completely missing the point. You cannot create, if you're trying to change something in your swing, if you're trying to fix a flaw in your swing, if you're trying to get better at your movements and have a better efficient movement pattern in your swing, it cannot be done during batting practice, period. It cannot be done during live pitching. Batting practice and live pitching is to teach you rhythm, tempo, and timing. Live pitching is to work on short, quick movements, be able to efficiently drive the ball in the gaps and hit the ball with authority in the gaps with power. That's for me. That's what I teach. If you want to get into muscle memory, you have to do T-work. You have to do soft toss work. You have to do screen toss work, okay? And you can do screen toss work at angles too to work on different positions. You have to focus on those 3 things, the screen toss or front toss, whatever you want to call it, your soft toss, and your T-work. You have to master those first before implementing that muscle memory into BP. Here's the thing, if you just do T-work and you go straight into BP on something that you're trying to work on your muscle memory on, most likely your rhythm and tempo, you're going to be worried about getting your timing down and freaking out about getting the ball and hitting the ball hard as opposed to exactly what you're focusing on at the time. That's not saying that I don't focus on BP, but I'm going to tell you right now, the beginning of the offseason, which we are at now, that September through late December mark, we do nothing but T-work, soft toss, and screen toss because we're trying to master our feel. And then towards that December, January mark, we start doing some short BP to work on quick reactions, work on some bat speed type stuff, and get them more comfortable with their first movement, get them more comfortable with their launch position, get them more comfortable with their movements that I'm teaching in their swing. Some guys, if you go straight into BP, again, all they're focusing on is timing, and they're not really focusing on fixing the flaw that they came to approach and fix in the first place. It takes time to fix these flaws. Think about it. If a guy comes to see me at 16 years old, it's the first time he's come to see me, he's been swinging a certain way his entire life, and I got to fix 2 or 3 things, a couple weeks of T-work and then going straight into BP and never doing those drills again is not going to recreate that swing and fix that swing. You've got to understand that it's a process and it takes time. Somebody doesn't start lifting weights and 2 weeks later they're all of a sudden squatting 500 pounds. That's not how it works. It takes time. We build efficiency and mastery of skill over and over and over and over. And you cannot master that skill until you are conscious and aware of when you're doing something right versus when you're doing something wrong. So again, I rambled a little bit. But focus when you are working on hitting, okay? In summary, when you're working on hitting, you're working on getting better, fixing weak points. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's long. It takes time. Focus on these 4 points as a hitter, okay? Quality reps on your drills. Less is more. Focus on a couple drills at a time. Watch the video and be in front of a mirror when you're doing those drills. Have somebody give you feedback. At minimum, instead of video in front of a mirror, have it, your dad, a partner, somebody. Tell them what you're trying to focus on so they know what to look for. And number 4, if you're just going out and hitting BP every day and not focusing on the little things, because the little things are everything, especially when it comes to baseball, you're not going to create that muscle memory. I love BP, don't get me wrong, but understand what the goal is and what you're trying to do before approaching that in practice. All right, guys, it's Ask Clarence Training. To kind of wrap it up, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you later.